Hello, my name is Simon Gray and welcome to BVI Business Insight. Welcome to another edition of BVI Business Insight. My name is Simon Gray, Head of Business Development at BVI Finance, and I'm delighted to welcome two very esteemed members of the BVI Finance community, Ms. Lorna Smith, who's Vice Chair of Bank of Asia, and also Ms. Lisa Liu. Ms. Lisa Liu has recently arrived from Asia, and her background is most impressive, with a long and esteemed history in terms of State Street, a number of other houses such as HSBC and JP Morgan as well. And Lorna, of course, is very well known to the BVI community, not only my ex-boss at BVI Finance, but also a director sitting on our board currently this year, and I believe for the next 2 years, and has been instrumental in setting up all manner of connections with mainland China. So ladies, welcome, and I'm delighted to introduce them to talk about digital banking and the importance of that growing industry, in particular in terms of the experience of Bank of Asia. I wonder if I could start with you, Lorna. Your connections with mainland China go back a number of years.
Yes.
Can you share some of the genesis of how that all began?
Certainly, Simon, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to talk about Bank of Asia.
You're welcome.
Yes, indeed, my connections with China do go back a long way. In fact, it was 1990 that Robert Mathavius and, in fact, the then Premier, now deceased, the Honorable H. Lavity Stout, we first visited Hong Kong. And as I thought about that period, it's 30 years ago, more than just about 30 years ago, and I thought about the rich history of the British Virgin Islands financial services and the rich history between, in fact, the two countries. I was very, very, very proud. In fact, having visited Hong Kong first in 1990, as I said, I went back 10 years later and included in, at that time, Shanghai. And you, Simon, know Hong Kong very well, and you know that I believe I'm a little older than you are, but you know that
Not much, I suspect.
every year, virtually in those days, it changes a lot. And Lisa, Lisa is from that part of the world. You know, it changes almost every year, not as much now as then. But when I went back in about 2002 to Hong Kong and Shanghai, of course, Hong Kong was completely transformed. And Shanghai, of course, there was always the Bund, the older area, and then there was Pudong, which of course is the new modern area. And seeing it now, another 10 years later, it's not like Phoenix rising from the ashes, but Phoenix rising from the earth. China, Hong Kong, Shanghai, and all those cities, of course, the real estate is in a category by itself. And I say all that to say that to reinforce that there is this strong connection between the British Virgin Islands financial services and China, because much of the wealth creation, the wealth growth, much of those buildings, the manufacturing, and whatever else goes on in China, a lot of it is through the use of BVI companies.
Of course.
So here we are with 32,000 people and having that very strong connection with China, and it's millions and millions of people.
No, I absolutely, and I think something like over 40% of revenues can be attributed to mainland China. So long may it continue and long may it grow. Lisa, let me bring you in, if I may, at this point. Digital banking. COVID, which has turned into an interesting year in terms of 2020 with COVID-19, many say that's accelerated the process of tech and technology and digitalization, crypto, etc. But you've been instrumental with Lorna and others setting up a digital bank from inception. What's the difference between a traditional bank and a digital bank?
Thank you so much, Simon, for that's a great question. I think also that's lots of people are having that in their mind. You mentioned two important things. COVID kind of it's a kind of big disaster to the whole world. However, if you're looking at the flip side of this scenario, indeed it's accelerate not only the digital in banking, but actually it's accelerate the whole world in terms of digitalization. Particularly, just a life experience I can share with you that in Asia, because when the COVID first hit, and people trying to figure out all the way of the possible transmission and the way that this how people can kind of control it. And one interesting finding is that the banknote, if you know, is actually the potential carrier of the virus. So that's why it's immediately one side is the banks put a lot of efforts, the legacy bank put a lot of the efforts in sanitize the banknote every day, and then plopping the brand new notes into the system. And the other side is just immediately the thinking is how we can reduce the use of the banknotes and then go the electronic payment of way. And that's where you're seeing where I come from in Asia, in China in particular. Nowadays, you may read some very interesting article that a particular reporter, a journalist, he did himself a test that he was in one of the city in China, living 48 hours cashless. So he gone through all the transportation, he gone through the hotel, all the meals, no cash at all. So this is really where you can have a real feeling of the digitalization, how that impact people, and then meanwhile how the COVID or the pandemic actually a big driving force to accelerate the transformation. Sure. So I would say that in terms of Bank of Asia's own experience, as Lorna just shared, the mission and why the bank was established is essentially for support the offshore company, and for them it's the registration and the corporate service is the main pillar of the economy here. But as to create the entire chain that you will be able to provide the banking service associated with that, to keep a positive dynamic of the whole industry and the business. So that's where why at the beginning Bank of Asia was established. However, I think that's not really not my credit. That's credit Lorna, the founder Carson, and particular I am very grateful. I think in terms of the vision of this location, to make this happen. So at day one we are particular mission, and then it's all go with the digitalization. And why is that? Because we're so far away. We need to have a digitalization channel to deliver that.
Sure. And Simon, if I may, I'm very glad that Lisa mentioned Carson, because he is the mind behind Bank of Asia. In fact, the problem, as you would be aware, started in about 2012 and 2013, when everybody became very conscious about offshore companies, and then there was a significant difficulty in getting bank accounts opened.
Yes.
And so the Premier spoke to Mr. Carson Wen, leading lawyer, politician. He was representing at the time Hong Kong and with China mainland, and a businessman, and spoke to him about the possibility of starting a bank, and that he did. And what was fortuitous about his starting the bank was the fact that he decided to do it a digital bank, which, as Lisa said, means that you can bank anywhere, anytime. We wanted to change the way banking is done. As long as you have a tablet, as long as you have a phone, you could just do whatever banking you could do. So in essence, we are able to support the corporate service providers by giving them that kind of innovative, cost-effective solution to banking for their hundreds of thousands of clients. Okay. And it's so important to us. And as you yourself in the beginning said, 40% of our business comes from China. So Lisa knows the business very well. And it's very important for us in terms of the $1.5 trillion that's mediated, the $1.5 trillion in assets mediated through the BVI. 40% comes out of China. That's a huge chunk.
No, absolutely.
And we are happy that we can have Bank of Asia as one of the mechanisms that could facilitate more of that business.
And most welcome, and I think prescient, given the way, COVID,
Absolutely.
but also the world is rapidly changing as well. So a tribute to Mr. Wen and others. Lisa, I wonder if I could ask you about correspondent banking. Any comments on that? You've obviously set relationships up with correspondent banks. How is that working?
Well, yeah, it's working very well. Put it this way, for Bank of Asia, I think another characteristic or by nature is at the beginning when it's set up. I think Carson chose and Lorna chose this strategy because it's a truly BVI bank in real terms. That's how I read it. So it's more like a fresh setup from scratch. So that's where you need build all the building blocks step by step. It will be never easy for a brand new bank. But I think that's the journey the bank has been picking up. And as the time goes, as now we gradually building up the system and front office, back office functions, so everything is going positively. And I think for the corresponding bank or the whole payment system, another thing is that the whole industry is going through a transformation as well. So just imagine, what we did past 30 years, how you transfer money, it may not be the case now or the future. So it's particular based on the fintech technology. A lot of the new things that will be possible, and also the way that what intermediary and what channel actually is now going I would say a revolution. So a lot of the good opportunities and availabilities actually is supporting the Bank of Asia's infrastructure that to go forward on that piece. And just a example as well in terms of that this COVID and linked to the Bank of Asia. You will feel this. Traditionally, you go to open account. Even you need to physically go to the bank's counter, getting your signature, all the things. But with the COVID, we talk about those offshore company. Even they want to go offshore, it's you can't simply. Hong Kong is locked down, and many jurisdictions, and they can't go outside China either. So that's where we're actually seeing the rapid. In terms of demand, and also that when Lorna mentioned that at the beginning we want to through our own exercise that to change the way people bank, and now actually is a lot of the real factor make this happening. So then the most people who were not used to the digital channel now actually become a big fan. And meanwhile, that when they realize they can actually open the account, doing the transactions anytime, anywhere, through their phone, that's a significant convenience.
Sure. You mentioned payment systems. Lorna, I wonder if you could comment on some of the other products that are being offered by.
Yes, certainly. I hope my colleague Deon Vanterpool, who's going to come on a little later, will expand on
Sure.
those products. I also wanted to add in terms of of your question on correspondent banks. We all know, as Lisa said, that systems change. We're now talking about neobanks, neobanks. We talk about electronic money institutions and so on. And so we have relationships with a number of such banks. So in addition to the bread and butter products that we offer, which it would include deposits, money transfers, credit card. We don't have a credit card at the moment, but and probably Lisa can speak to that some more. But certainly in terms of payments and so on, those are some of the what I call bread and butter products that we are concentrating on for our corporate service providers.
Yeah, good. Well, may I press you on the credit card point? Will there be a local credit card, or will it be issued in Hong Kong, or will it be available for all of your customers?
Wait for that, and then you will see that will be very exciting things we're going to about to launch here locally.
Okay.
That's along with our general banking license, and as you were, we start with this offshore, and then we're now moving to the final stage of the general banking license. And the idea is that really it will be fintech based, and then we're not competing with any of the existing service provider, because simply no point doing that. What we really want to bring to the local market here is that all the electronic e-wallet based card. So you will have very, very fancy something card on the way.
Okay. Good. Well, we look forward to that very much. Lorna, may I press you on the issue perhaps of the types of clients you have? A mix of presumably corporates, but also private individuals. Are they mainly ultra high net worth individuals, or is it fairly general?
We have much of our banking is through a corporate service providers, and of course they have a large variety of clients, corporate clients. They have institutional clients, and of course they have the private equity firms and the very ultra high net worth individuals that they service. So at the moment it's mainly through our corporate service providers. As Lisa said, we are moving towards a full banking license. In fact, the application is with the Commission at the moment, when we could offer a lot more in terms of services.
Good. And in terms of, and you obviously have the vision currently, has that vision changed at all given the challenges with 2020 for the entire world, or is that vision still absolutely exactly as originally anticipated? Lisa?
Put it this way, our mission, our vision remain the same. But further than that, I think what's happening, the challenge you are talking about this year, I think actually more like verified our vision. And then for us, we actually were in the position that to move faster. So that's where you talk about the client segment. We're built on where we were. That's where you talk about the trust is also a key business here. So that's one that we're gradually looking at, other than the bread and the butter, in terms of how we can serve the high net worth that behind the trust, and then expand our product and offering. You will see that that's on the way.
Good.
Our vision will certainly have to change. I mean, 2020 has been a very, very hard year, and our vision, when I say change, it evolves.
Yeah.
That's a better word, and we are very pleased that we can respond in the way that we could, including with speed. Traditional banks or retail banks, they would take 3 to 6 months before they could respond positively or open a bank account.
Sure.
In our case, it's a matter of weeks once we've gone through the KYC processes.
Sure.
And of course, we don't make any shortcuts. We can't afford to, because the reputation of the British Virgin Islands is key. And so we go through the know your client systems. We have a very experienced compliance officer who really looks at all these things in great detail. So
Good.
we're very pleased with our progress.
Well, most impressive. There's a great line by the Duke of Wellington before the Battle of Waterloo. He said, "Time spent in reconnaissance is never wasted." There's no doubt that Carson Wen and his colleagues did a lot of reconnaissance and perhaps had a degree of Delphic foresight. But congratulations to you both, and thank you very much for your time. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be returning in a few minutes' time. So I'd like to say thank you very much to Lorna Smith, and Lisa will be seeing after the break. But thank you both for this part of the interview.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
How does financial services benefit the BVI? It's been around for more than 3 decades before the World Wide Web and is now part of the everyday life of our islands. More than 2,200 people are directly employed in financial services, and another 3,000 jobs are supported indirectly. Jobs are corporate service providers, lawyers, insolvency, accounting, banking, insurance, regulators. That's almost 27% of the national workforce. Of those, more than 65% are BVI landers and belongers. What about restaurants, supermarkets, or shops? Well, 100% of people eat. So, they buy food. They buy swimsuits and shampoo and cars and power tools and plantains and fish and roti and pates. Financial services employees buy painkillers and lots of beer. Then there's electricity and dental floss and toilet paper and pretty much everything else. And everyone needs a roof over their heads and a place to do business, so we all rent or buy from a local landlord. Housing and office space alone means millions of dollars into the pockets of BVI families. At the end of the day, everyone benefits, including charities who receive thousands of dollars every year. And more than 60% of all government revenues come from fees paid by financial services. This money is spent on schools, roads, ports, scholarships, the environment, health, sports, children, youths, and the elderly. Financial services contributes more than $290 million to the BVI economy. That's more than 30% of all economic activity is driven by financial services. This creates thousands of jobs all across the islands, meaning more people have a way to earn a living. What does financial services do for the BVI? Let's just say it keeps our lights on. Financial services is everybody's business. So, come on, mind your business and let's not keep this to ourselves.
Welcome back. My name is Simon Gray, Head of Business Development at BVI Finance, and I'm delighted to do the second part of BVI Business Insight. And Lisa Liu is joining me again, President of Bank of Asia, and this time I have Deon Vanterpool. Deon is a Vice President at Bank of Asia and has a long pedigree in the BVI in terms of working a number of significant roles in the private sector, but also the public sector, and also in the United States. And with an impressive academic background, which has sent him to America, to Brazil, South Korea, Germany, and I believe a number of other destinations. So welcome back, and welcome to you, Deon.
Thank you for having us.
Pleasure. There's an expression, we say it's an English expression, but actually I believe, as usual, the British borrowed it from someone else. We live in interesting times. I think it's actually a Chinese expression. That is something of an understatement this year, but it's a rapidly evolving environment. Deon, I wonder if I could ask you to elaborate a little bit on the services that the Bank of Asia is providing.
Sure, I'll do that, Simon. The Bank of Asia was considered as a journey. And over the journey, over the past 3 to 5 years, we've really expanded the services that we offer. From payment services right down the line to wealth management and insurance, asset management. And where we're positioning ourselves, Bank of Asia, right now, is to be able to not only offer those services across Asia, Latin America, the UK, and across the rest of the world, but we would actually like to be able to offer some of these services right here in the BVI. And I'm proud to say that. As a person that grew in the BVI that this is actually something that we can extend the banking offering in the BVI such that the positioning Bank of Asia is there to service a very wide base that was really took the platform probably from about 3 to 5 years ago, and it's really growing with the fintech development and the direction that technology is going.
Sure, and if I could I'll press you on the fintech. I mean, my understanding is the Commission has launched its fintech sandbox regime. Would you like to comment on that, Lisa?
Yeah, we are, put it this way, before I arrived at Ireland, actually I was so excited to get two news. First of all, is actually the FSC launched the kind of guideline on the in crypto related business for the financial industry here. And then secondly, immediately after that is the sandbox launch. So from at that time, I'm more like an external observer on that one. I think BVI is very, very moving quite fast and then in a very good position to capture this whole wave of the digitalization and then how that can become or help the country to build another economic growth engine. So that's where I see the environment there. And then back Asia, because this is probably one of the most active region in this whole digital, in crypto kind of area. So that I do see the great opportunity there. And actually Deon and the team has done a lot of preparation for that.
Yes.
Come to you then.
Yeah, and that's one of the areas that the BVI is already well positioned from the side of the legal as well as the other aspect in the BVI financial services. However, Bank of Asia right now is ready to bring this side of it in banking, which will bring a very good collaboration between the two groups within the financial services industry. 3 to 5 years ago, digital banking and fintech were all new words. Bank of Asia right now is really revolutionizing and positioning themselves with the leading groups within the fintech digital banking to not just offer what we call digital channels, but we also bring the KYC, know your customer, AML side of things, because we acknowledge that the jurisdiction needs to be protected. It's something that the BVI has built over years, and making sure that we offer the very good systems is of utmost importance as outlined by our chairman. So we have put these systems in place, we've tested them. Every year we evaluate to see if they're new systems and if they're new partners that we can align ourselves to make sure that we have the best systems in place, electronic verification, adverse media checking, behavior monitoring, as some of the buzzwords that you might hear. But those are not just buzzwords for us, but those are actually put as strategic direction.
Sure.
Yeah.
And of course, reputation is everything. both in
Verification
terms
is everything.
of the bank, but also the territory.
Of
Yes.
course. It's
Yeah.
of most importance.
I mean, can we talk a little bit about some of the digital products, the crypto type products that Bank of Asia is interested in? It's a bit of an open question, so perhaps I'll ask both of you. But Deon, should we start with you?
Sure. The digital asset has a very wide base. Right now, we're looking at aligning ourselves with some of the jurisdictions that have regulated exchanges, and then some of the, Lisa will talk more about the fiat side of it as an opportunity for development, as we're expanding the services that we offer. And it's piqued the ears of quite a few of our service providers and our clients, as we've started to have discussions with them. We've also spoken with the regulator as towards to ensure that this is the direction that the BVI is going. And it definitely is very much aligned and with our partners that we have in Asia. Lisa, if you could.
Good.
Yeah, very true what Deon just talk about, and on top of that, I think our approach, because exactly as you mentioned, for this is new business. Meanwhile, that you need to think about the reputation not only for the bank and also for the industry as well as for the country. So that's where we start is that the digital related is a very, very wide topic. So we start with some the digital related players in this industry, because you can imagine that to have a whole industry built up, actually you need many aspects. First of all, is that who are the players in this in this industry, and the more acceptable or currently with the mainstream is considered a well managed and a well regulated entity. So that's where we start with this part of the population. And the challenge they're having now, even they are regulated and well managed, however, still takes some time for them that how the fiat currency related service, the basic service, every company, even in crypto, you still need to pay your rental, and not every you can pay by the Bitcoin. So this is the fiat service part is where I think a connection that between the digital world and the real world we're having now. So this is where we start. And meanwhile, that the other observation we see is great potential, and meanwhile need a lot of the stakeholders in the financial industry to work together, because you are imagine if I think broadly financial service, suppose that what we have today in the real world, down the road that they will be all available in the digital or the virtual world. So in that aspect, that I think for the BVI is very well positioned, that can keep a open mind, and then for the different players, because you have exchange. You will have funds, for example, the investor part, because this is where you build the whole industry, right?
Yes.
And also the users and all the parties make them a friendly commercial environment. Start from BVI, and also think about if BVI has very successfully built the corporate service, but in this digital industry, how many new corporate need to be incorporated for them to start this business? So it's a natural add-on and natural expansion for the for the local economy. And BVI is a unique position in that way. I truly believe actually more advantage compared to other locations.
And I know that in the first half, Lorna alluded to the success of our business company regime, which are very user-friendly, and those are being used by a lot of digital asset providers. But I think also it's fair to say that our fund regime, incubators, approved funds, are proving very, very popular as innovative technology. So, again, those are ready and waiting on an offer in the BVI for potential clients. Let's move, if I may, on to the subject of ESG. Lisa, could you sort of talk about what Bank of Asia is doing in that regard?
I'll be very delighted to talk that. That's actually dear to my heart, that topic, because nowadays, first of all, as I mentioned in the first part, all the way from our chairman, our management team, and particularly the staff here, we do see ourselves in real terms. If I may, that we do see ourselves a real BVI bank. Because we're headquartered here, unlike others. We're headquartered here. We have a deep connection with the local society. And meanwhile, as Lorna just briefed, at the beginning, why we exist is actually a part of the whole economic system here, I would say, to support the corporate service part of the business. And meanwhile, it's a deep commitment, and in terms of that, what value all the time we're thinking along we build a business, but what real value we can bring to this society, to this community. So that's around that one. Deon can share with you a lot that what we did before in terms of some of the quasi charity type of support to the society. But meanwhile, I'm more thinking that how we can help and also contribute and working together with all the stakeholders here, the government, regulator, industry players, how we can make, drive some new economic growth engine for BVI. But before that, I think, Deon has a lot of good story to share, all the way from generator to the mask.
Well, philanthropy is vital, and I am aware of the generosity, but can you tell our viewers a little, some of those specifics?
But I wouldn't quite call them stories because they're true stories. So I don't know what category you put that in. But yes, We have been contributing generators from the Hurricane Irma. That's from 2017. Even in the pandemic that we're facing right now, the bank has been very much involved in making sure that the community and the Ministry of Health has masks readily available. We donated over 10 or 15,000 masks already to the community. Right now, the reality of it is that the offshore banking, as you know it, is in a unique place. The question always comes, how can we conduct proper due diligence on a offshore bank or offshore clients? And that is where I think we are here to offer that to the community, to the corporate service providers, to make sure that question is answered. And we answer that question through technology. We answer that question through alignment with payment services. And we offer that for something that's developing for the future. So we really would like to be part of the community through our philanthropic ventures, through whatever support that's needed, even in terms of advice for the community. How can you really move the BVI financial industry from where it's at to the digital future is where Bank of Asia is positioning itself and offering services, not just necessarily on the being a capitalist type company, but really how can we offer our services, our contributions to the community, whether it be generators or whether it be masks in a pandemic. We are really here to be part of the BVI long time.
Well, it's delightful to hear that and very reassuring. I think it's called caring capitalism, which sounds very agreeable. But I would like to thank both of you for your very valuable time today, and for Lorna for her time earlier. It's been extremely revealing to learn so much about what is progressing with this digital world of banking, and best exemplified by, I think, Bank of Asia. And I think it was Winston Churchill who said, why let a good crisis go to waste? Well, he had a few in his time and dealt with them generally fairly well. I think COVID is probably going to provide an opportunity. It's accelerated the growth of the digital world, and a credit to Bank of Asia, to Carson and your colleagues in having the presence of mind to anticipate this rapidly evolving and developing technology. Thank both of you very much for your valuable time.
Thank you, and very nice to have you.
This is Simon Gray signing off from BVI Business Insight, and we look forward to the next one in a couple of weeks' time.